So, welcome to this video. We're going to talk about controlling your energy. So, what does that actually mean? So, breaking it down, energy is actually the fundamental building blocks of this five sense material reality. So, everything is full of energy and everything actually runs from energy. So, what do I mean by controlling your energy? Well, I'm going to frame this in a story about myself, actually, to start off with. So, when I was a young boy, I had a very traumatic childhood. My mother died when I was 11 years of age, and my father became disabled when I was 10. There's lots of back history to that, which made me very angry, but I won't get into that. Anyway, I came home one day and I found my father doing something that I really wasn't happy with at all. It was to do with the pets, and his anger and frustration, he was taking it out on one of the pets. And it wasn't that bad, but it was bad enough, right? So I'll just leave it at that. I went absolutely ballistic. My love of animals has always been from a very young boy, because I found them always reliable. They're always reliable. You always go to my pets, and you knew they're always reliable. They usually give you affection and love. When you give them affection and love, they're reciprocal. It works both ways. Human beings not always like that. We're not always like that. So I was really angry when I found my father not being particularly kind to this dog. It was a dog. I went completely crazy. I ran outside. We had a lean-to where our washing was done, and I started pulling that apart. I was only early teens, early teens, 13, maybe 14, probably less than that, maybe 12 even. Anyway, I started pulling this apart. I had enormous strength for some reason, because I was so livid and angry. My mother had gone, my father was disabled, this happened. So I started pulling this lean-to apart, and I ripped it apart, little boy, solid structure, and then I started smashing a car up. I was livid, and this went on for like many minutes. So many minutes doesn't sound that long, but when you're in that kind of rage, it is a long time when somebody's obviously watching it. So my eldest brother got involved. He wasn't living with us at the time, and he started speaking with my father, and they took me to Kingston Hospital, to the mental part, the mental part of the hospital, where they do psychiatric evaluations. And I could hear them talking about me and my behaviour and my actions in the room next door to me. And at that point, I realised I had a choice. An enormous choice, and it was actually quite overbearing, the realization of this choice that I had. If I could walk into that room with that same anger, and I wasn't stupid either as a young boy, I would be put into one of these mental institutions and kept there, probably drugged up to my eyeballs, not knowing what day it was. Or I could walk into that room with love and empathy and an open heart, express how I felt at that time, expressed that I lost my cool, and at this point now I would say I chose the wrong energy. I chose the wrong energy because I chose the anger to express itself in a very negative way rather than a very positive way, which is what I do now with my frustrations and anger of this world today, which is there's plenty out there to be angry and upset about. I use that energy to push myself into the places where I want to get to, not always attacking what's made me angry, but keeping it in mind to say, okay, well, next time that crops up, I'm going to say something about that. Could be something a corporation has done or a government has done. And you say, well, don't you remember they did this in the past? So why are we keeping putting up with this? Why do we keep putting up with this? I don't know. And get into a discussion like that so I can express that energy in different ways. And I'll talk about one of the ladies who comes to my Qigong class. I do all levels of Qigong classes. I do elderly and sort of middle-aged and young. One particular elderly class I teach, there was a lady who came in. She was very quiet, very slim, very slender, not looking particularly happy, shrunk into herself. And she started taking the class. I didn't think she would last, but she did. She kept coming back, and she kept moaning about certain things. And I said, no, everybody else is happy. Looking for attention, basically, which is fine because we all want to be loved, right? All of us want to be loved. So she was looking for attention, to be loved, to have attention thrust upon her. So I kept denying her her wishes by saying, well, nobody else is unhappy with this. Why are you unhappy with it? Because I wasn't doing anything unreasonable, or the sound wasn't too loud, or things like that. Anyway, she kept coming back. Then eventually she approached me at the end of a class and said, I'm feeling so depressed. What do I do? I said, well, how's your breathing? Are you breathing? And she went, and she could hardly breathe. She's so skinny, she could hardly breathe. And I said, there's your problem. So she came back the next week and she said, I'm still depressed. I said, have you been doing your breathing? She said, no. I said, you got to breathe. You got to. This is the start of your recovery, is just getting into breathing. Because I don't know if you know, most human beings on the planet, the bottom of their lungs have stale air in it, which is a horrible thought, really. So you're just breathing in that stale air, and your system's trying to absorb it, and it's just all going horribly wrong. No, she comes back another week later, and she speaks to me again. I said, have you done your breathing? No. Okay. Do it this week. Right? Really try to focus on that. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. You should really start to get into this. The third week came along and she said, yes, when I asked her. I went, how do you feel? I feel better. Wasn't great. She said, I still feel like negative, depressed. And I said, well, keep going with the breathing. So a few more weeks went by and she kept coming back and said, yeah, I'm feeling better now. Look, her chest was starting to open up a little bit more. She's starting to get to the bottom of her lungs. The smell on her breath was going. And it was like, wow, this is brilliant. So we've got to start to do some moving and tapping. Tapping is so brilliant for the body. I don't know if you've seen my Qigong videos on this channel, but it's so brilliant for the body. I'd recommend everybody to get into tapping because it's so amazing. Anyway, she started to do movements now, opening up the chest, pushing out and all of that. And I thought, yeah, this is brilliant. Then she started to animate herself to other members who come to the class. It's a big class, about 30 odd people there every week. It's a big class. So she started to animate herself and smile. You know what happens when you smile? I keep saying to her, every time you smile, you release serotonin into your brain, which makes all your little synapses work properly. So smiling is really important. It's different from chimpanzees. When they smile, they're fearful. When we smile, it's releasing serotonin into the body, which goes to the brain as well, which gets your brain working properly. So she's smiling more. She's more interactive with the people, but she's still feeling a little bit depressed. But who isn't in this world today? You're looking at this and going, what is this mess? There's a reason for the mess, and I'm not going to get into that in this video, but it's all about getting into yourself and self-reflection, which is what I've been urging this beautiful woman to do, and she did. Her skin became healthier, her movements became more flexible, her breathing became deeper. You could see her belly coming out as she's breathing in and out, so she's doing some proper Danjon breathing. And the change in her was remarkable. And unfortunately, she's going over to America. If she's watching this, I'll say hello. She's going over to America. And she was really, it was almost tearful that she was going, because it was like part of my family. When people come into my world, they're like part of my family. So I will do whatever I can to help them heal. So obviously they're spending money with me. So the energy is reciprocal. It's not all me give. It goes both ways, which is important for people to understand. They think, oh, okay, well, you doing that for this person, why can't you do it for me? It's reciprocal, and when you get a little bit, you give a little bit. It's give and take. So there's no karma involved with it. I've tried to give away so much for free, and the karma involved with that, you're putting too much good karma into the world. It works both ways. You can put bad karma and good karma into the world. So you've got to be really aware of that. So she's been giving to me, I've been giving to her, and it was almost like having an aunt leaving for however many months she's going now. And she's made the choice to change her energy, to think about the self-pity party going downwards and all this, to thinking, okay, well, what can I do? So I asked her, what do you like to do? So we got to this point where actually we were starting to make real progress. I like to cook. I said, well, why aren't you cooking? Well, nobody's really interested in my food, blah, blah, blah. I said, but do you like cooking? I said, yes. So I said, I love cooking as well because it's like a meditation for me. Every day I start my food from scratch, build up the sauces and the recipes and that, and I make this beautiful food. And I loved Christmas actually, by the way, because it gave me a bit longer to cook. So I was cooking this beautiful food over Christmas, and I still do it, but I reduced the time a little bit because of the time pressures I've got during the week. Because I've got so much work to do because I run this academy by myself at the moment. So but I still produce this beautiful food. And I said, why don't you do that? Get back into cooking. Get back into eating well. Love your food. Love the energy you put into your food. And I've found the more energy you put into your food and the more focus you put on your food, the better it tastes. That's again, you can choose your energy, what you put into the food. If you just slam it, pull something out of the fridge and bang it in a microwave, probably the worst thing you can do because you're not attending to your food. Microwave food is not good for you whatsoever, no matter what the people say. There were original findings on that, the way it alters food and heats it up so quickly is just not good when it goes into the body. So doing that to yourself is not good. So cooking food from scratch is like a meditation, and we should all be getting into that, or helping people get into that, like prepping and things like that. Help people prep in the kitchen if they're doing the cooking. So it becomes more of what we do as human beings, which is eating. It's really important. So you do have a choice with your energy. And I learned that from a very early age. And then going through my training to become a Qigong instructor, then a Dharma master, and also to choose to do sound healing, because I do really feel that that is the future of healing in our world, to actually understand the resonance and the nature that we live in and the nature of our reality. Then when you make the right choice, which is what one of my teachers said, if you make the right choice every moment, you are enlightened. And I hope you are enlightened. I do run a course called The Dream Method for highly sensitive people. It's a coaching course if you want to get deeper into your spirituality and who you are. All you got to do is click the link around this video, below this video, and you go through to a webinar which will show you the 5-step process. If you're interested in that, that'd be great. If you're not, don't worry about it. But it is a 5-step process, and I do a lot of vetting for that because I don't take on the wrong people. Because again, I don't mind doing the Qigong from a distance, but when people come into my coaching, I do it from intuition, and it takes energy and time, and therefore it takes energy back from you to actually get you into this place. So I hope that's really clear. So click the link if you're interested in that. You can watch the free webinar. There's no ties to that. Anyway, until I see you next video, I will see you then. Until then, be well and keep shining.